This conference will now be recorded.
So as of now, I'm just doing a very quick recap. So just to help other folks like who have no background about JavaScript or maybe Playwright whatsoever. Okay, so we also started with what? We also started with this that we need to install Node.js, and Node.js is very similar to what we have for JRE, which is Java runtime environment I need in if I really want to run Java programs on my machine, and if I want to execute JavaScript programs on my machine, I need something which is called as Node.js. You can treat Node.js like an execution environment for JavaScript, which is very, very simple. So we'll actually talk about in depth how to install Node.js, how to install Playwright and everything from scratch, right? So I also talked about basics of JavaScript. So I showed you how to write some very simple JavaScript programs on our machine. Okay, so I also started with how to create the basic syntax for variables. So let us get started. So I'll share my screen with you. Okay. So can anyone please confirm if you're able to see? I've just shared. Okay, done. Can anyone please confirm, guys, if you're able to see my screen?
I see it now.
Okay, thank you. And guys, if at all you are kind of unmuted, please mute yourself so that it should not cause any disturbance to anyone, right? So that we can keep the meeting decorum maintained. Okay, and yeah, after this class, I'll will be taking up your queries, so don't worry. Okay, so let's get started. So on my screen, yesterday, what did I show you? I showed you that we can run some basic JavaScript code. So why I was showing you all this? I just wanted to tell all the manual testers because as per the poll, majority of people who are joining this course, they have no JavaScript background. They have no automation background. So I just wanted to show them JavaScript is damn simple. Okay, in fact, my belief system is like JavaScript is easy. And I want to install that same belief in all of your heads that JavaScript and Playwright is very, very easy. All it requires little bit of practice, little bit of dedication, and have this burning desire that yes, you can make a lot of money, especially in automation, if you really concentrate well and work hard. Okay, so I showed you yesterday that how we can basically create some variables in JavaScript. So again, we'll continue like this. So this is the basic syntax of creating variables in JavaScript. So we start with a keyword called let. In case if you're coming from Java or Selenium background, you must be used to something like int a equal to something, right? But in JavaScript, we don't have things like int or maybe float or maybe double. We have only two keywords, which is let and const. We have a third keyword which is called as var, but we don't use var at all. So I'm talking about only two keywords, which is let and const. And yeah, I'll talk about in future why exactly we don't use var. So for now, just understand that this is a very simple way of creating a variable in JavaScript. Now, some of you might be wondering, why do I want to create a variable, right? So I'll tell you in very simple terms. Suppose if this is my name, right? So basically my name is what? It is a group of characters, basically a string in simple words. If I want to reuse this again and again, right? So in that case, if I don't use a variable, it will be very hard to basically organize my code. But suppose if I rather store this string, which is my name, inside a variable, and suppose if I want to later change it, right? So it's better to change it in one particular location rather than changing in five locations if I'm not using variables. So using variables makes me write my code in a better way and as per better programming practice. Okay, so don't worry if things are still not making sense at the moment, but by the time we'll end this course, you will have this confidence that JavaScript and Playwright are doable and I can do it, right? That's my goal for all of you, and I'll make sure that it will be done. Okay, so this is how I create a variable in JavaScript. And similarly, there's one more way of creating a variable that is called as const. And this is how I create. Now, you must be wondering, when should I use let or when should I use const? They look exactly the same. So I can give you a very simple example. Suppose if I want to store a birth year of a particular person, right? In that case, I can use const. Why? Now start thinking logically. If you want to store birth year of a person, is it supposed to change? I don't think so. So there are few values that are never supposed to change. For example, if there's a person who was born in 1990, okay, and his birth year is never supposed to change. So should you use let or should you use const? So the best practice is always use const for those variables that you think that they are not supposed to change. Okay, and you will also see something like this. And this might look a little weird for people who have never done coding before. Okay, why I'm starting this as a smaller case and the second word as in uppercase. But this is a very common programming practice, and this particular convention is actually called as lower camel casing. So basically, when I want to join or fuse multiple words together in JavaScript, this is called as lower camel case, and all the programmers follow the same convention. Now imagine that there are five people in your team. I am following this convention. Maybe you are following the Python convention, which is something like this. It is called a snake case or something, wherein you are using underscore, right? So it'd be very hard to maintain. Why? Because everybody is following their own style. Nobody is following a consistent pattern. So in programming, you always make sure that you are following a consistent pattern, so that it is today you are able to see your code and able to understand it. But maybe think about 1 month down the line or even 6 months down the line. You want to really appreciate your code even 6 months down the line. You should not look into your code after 6 months and say, oh my god, is this me who wrote such pathetic code? No, right? So that is not what you want. So always try to learn and follow the better programming practices. And are you going to become an expert overnight? Definitely not. It has taken me years and years, and I'm still not an expert. Definitely not. But I'm good, very good. This is what my belief is. Okay. Same thing you can also start feeling about yourself, but with a lot of practice. Okay. So this is how we create variables in JavaScript, and this is something called as camel casing convention. Okay. Now let us talk about some operators. So some of you might have heard about these operators. So for that, let me just do one thing. Inside my test, let me create one file called anything, say JavaScript. Okay, let me create one folder inside test. Say I can call it like this, JavaScript. Okay, inside JavaScript, let me create one file called one.js. Okay, so firstly, very important thing is whenever I'm creating any JavaScript file, it has to end with .js extension. So what does .js means? JS means JavaScript. And if you look at the bottom over here, you will again see something called as JavaScript. This clearly tells me that my I'm running a file called JavaScript. And some of you might be looking at my icons and must be wondering, how come he's having such stylish icons? Okay, for that, I can just tell you one thing. It is very simple. All you have to do is just go to this extensions tab over here. Okay, and I have installed some couple of themes, or you can say some extensions, which are very handy. In your case, don't worry about these extensions. You don't require all of these extensions. I would recommend first extension that you should have is something called as CodeRunner by Jonhan. And if you see, it has almost how many? Almost 34 million downloads, right? So this is a very popular extension which helps you get this play button over here. So with this extension, you can run any JavaScript code very easily. Otherwise, without this extension, you can still run JavaScript code. Nobody is stopping you, but you have to go to the command prompt, and every time you have to type this command node space file name, or else you can go to the browser and you can type your JavaScript code. But I think as an automation developer, we want to do things faster, right, and more efficient, right? So this is an extension that gives you this play button. So I would highly recommend you please install this extension, Codrunner by Junhan. So this is one. The second extension what I would recommend is what? Okay. So material icon theme. This gives a lot of beauty to your VS Code. You get some very stylish themes actually. So in my case, I've installed this material icon theme. And again, if you see, it has been downloaded so many times, which clearly tells me that this is a very popular theme. Okay, so which is completely optional, right? If you're okay with the very basic setup, don't install it. But if you're like me, that you are okay with, you really like these colorful folders and file names, then you can go with it. So this is not mandatory, it is kind of optional. Okay, so these are the two themes that I would really recommend. Okay, and then what I was talking about, we have something called as operators in JavaScript. So if I talk about operators, you must have heard about this very common operator called as plus operator. So this plus operator is also called as addition operator. Addition. This is something that I'm sure everybody, even a manual tester, will be able to understand. Why? It is very simple. All it does is simply adds two things, something on the left and something on the right. So that is why this plus operator is also called as what? Binary operator, in addition to being an addition operator. So let me repeat. Y plus operator is also called as binary operator because it has something on the left and something on the right. So when I say something on the left, so it has a number on the left which is one operand, and it has another operand on the right hand side. Maybe it can be 4, maybe it can be 5, whatever. And since it has two operands on these sides, it is called as binary operator. So in simple terms, if I do like this, 1 plus 4, it means this plus is now a binary operator. Very simple, right? And then we have something called as unary operator. Now, if you are able to understand this binary operator, you should also be able to understand what is the unary operator, which is very, very close to this binary. It means if I have something, okay, let me give a very simple example. Say I have a variable called counter and I create like this, let counter equal to 1. So what am I doing? I'm creating a variable called counter and I'm giving it an initial value called 1. And this equal to is called as assignment operator. So how does it work? So whatever I'm having on the right hand side of this assignment operator equal to, it gets assigned to this variable on the left hand side. So basically what will happen is this variable called counter will now have a value of 1. Okay, so this is what it means. Now if I try to do something afterwards like this, counter plus plus, don't worry about this plus plus. Sometimes in Java or maybe JavaScript you might have heard about these plus plus, which is on the left hand side of counter. But for now just understand that if I have something like counter plus plus or maybe plus plus counter, right? So this particular operator has only one operand on the left hand side or one operand on the right hand side. In this case, I can call this plus plus as a unary operator, which has only one operand on either side. So you will never see counter plus plus counter. No, there is no such thing like this. Either it can be plus plus counter on the left hand side or it can be counter plus plus. I hope it makes sense. Okay. Right. So some of you who have done some programming before, you might think that this is very simple, very basic. But I'm thinking about all those people who have joined who have never done programming before. So otherwise, I'm a very fast talker. People usually like to say that you are very fast. Please slow down. Don't run like a bullet train. So I'm deliberately trying, forcing myself to slow down. Otherwise, I would speak very fast. And if you feel that my pace is okay, please let me know. I can change accordingly. See, this course is not about me. It is for you. Okay, so another example of this unary operators, we have something called as counter minus minus. Okay, so this is also an example of unary operator, and you can even have counter minus minus here, or you can have minus minus counter, just like plus plus. Okay, right. So now let me give you some more examples of const. We just talked about something called as const. So what is const in JavaScript? This is something wherein we use const to create a constant variable. When I say constant variable, it means this variable is not supposed to change. For example, I just gave you one example, say birth year. So the birth year of person is not supposed to change, right? And you see, I'm getting this red squiggly line in VS Code. What does it mean? It means that there is some issue here. If I don't know what is the issue, just bring your mouse here and VS Code will clearly tell you this is the issue here. See, it clearly tells me that const declarations must be initialized. If you're not able to understand this, that is absolutely normal. Let me tell you what exactly it means. It means that when I'm creating a variable using the const keyword, I have to give it an initial value. So if I give an initial value like 2000 or something, see, now there is gone. But if I remove the initial value, then I'll still get an error. Why? In the case of const, I have to give an initial value. But do I need to do the same for let? No, not required. In the case of let, see, okay, I've created this variable called counter. So if I remove this equal to 1 from here, see, VS Code is not showing an error. Why? Because this let variables can be initialized to 0. So we don't really need to give an initial value. But in the case of constant variables, I have to give it an initial value. Now, start thinking about more use cases of constant variables. Just start thinking. First can be birth year. Let me give it a more meaningful name, say birth year. And yeah, this is called as lower camel casing. First letter of the first word is always in lowercase, and all the subsequent letters of next words, if we are using, they have to be in uppercase. Okay, so another example of constant can be the value of pi. So if you go back to your previous mathematic days, right, we used to have something called as pi, pi r square, 2 pi r, right, related to circles. I believe I'm not very good with maths. I never scored 100. Okay, so if I talk about this pi, it has this value something like 3.1416. Okay, So is this value supposed to change? Definitely not. Should I use let? I can use let. Nothing is stopping me. But as for better practice, this value is something that is never supposed to change. So instead of using let, as for better programming practice, we should use const. So I'll be teaching you bad programming practices, plus I'll be teaching you good programming practices so that you can understand what not to follow and what to follow. Okay, so if I now suppose if this is my constant variable called birth year. Now let us try to do something interesting. If I try to change the value of a const variable, so I just said, right, we cannot change the value, but what if I still try to change it? So what to do? So in that particular case, VS Code, or not VS Code, basically JavaScript should throw me an error. I'm just using VS Code to run JavaScript, but behind the scenes JavaScript is actually getting run. So how do I run this program? It is very, very simple. The first way is simply open the terminal. So how do I open terminal? Yesterday I've showed you there are three ways. Firstly, click on terminal and then new terminal. This is the first option, which is simple, nothing wrong. Second option is click on this icon and then this icon, and that is how you can open terminal. But previously, yesterday I even showed you how to install Playwright. I'll talk about this in a recap again. So for now, if I want to clear the terminal, I can do Control and L. Okay, so my terminal is clear. So this is the second way of opening the terminal. How do I close it? Simply click on this delete icon. And now there's an even better way that I learned very recently. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that I just learned the third way, which is very recently, and that is what? Control and backtick key. See, I can open the terminal with just one shortcut. Now, some of you must be wondering, what the heck is this backtick key? So I'll tell you. What do I mean? So this is backtick key. So this backtick key is something that is there on your keyboard. Yeah, for some of you who didn't join yesterday, right? I told them yesterday. So this is the key that is just below the escape key or just above the tab key, and it is something like this. Can you see? This is like a slanted single quote or something. So this is called as backtick key. So how do you open terminal? Simply press the control key and the backtick key, and you can directly open the terminal. So if you are an automation developer, I think it makes really sense that you should know these shortcuts, which are very, very frequently used things. In those cases, I think it really helps. So I'm on the terminal now. So what was I talking about? I was talking about how to run the JavaScript code. So how to run JavaScript code is very simple. Simply type node and then followed by the name of my file. What is the name of my file? 1.js. So just type node space followed by the name of my file and into JS and hit enter. Okay. Now I'm getting this error, module not found. In this case, that is absolutely normal. So don't worry about if you get such kind of weird issues. Okay. So I'll talk about later. At this moment, you'll not be able to understand, which is very much normal. So in your case, what do I do is I can simply click on the control and L key. And there's an even simpler way that I told you, right? And that is to install this particular extension called as Code Runner by Jonan. Where is it? Yeah, here is it, Code Runner by Jonan. This extension is for this purpose only, which is very, very simple. All if you want to do is simply select the lines of code that you want to execute and just click on the play button over here. And that is very, very simple. But I didn't see any output. What happened? It is because by default, I'm not using any console.log or something. Suppose if you are from Java background, you might have used something like this, system.out.println. So what does this do in Java? It simply prints out something to the console. In my case, this is the console. Why do I want to print something to the console? Because maybe I'm learning new things. I want to test out few things and I just want to see what all things I'm doing. Is it working correct? So in that cases, I can use system.out.println but in Java. So similar to this, we have something very similar in JavaScript, which is called as console.log, and this is what we'll be using very, very frequently in JavaScript. Okay, so this is called as console.log statement. So how do I use? Just type console with a small c and then this log. So basically log is a method, and any method in JavaScript has to have these parentheses. Okay, so inside the parentheses, if I simply type birth here, that's it. Okay, and now if I run my code, okay, so what do I'm trying to do? Okay, let me just do like this, birth here equal to birth here plus 1. I'll tell you why I actually did. But for now, let me just run this piece of code. What all piece of code I want to run? I want to run only these lines. I want to ignore the previous lines what I've written. In that case, this extension is very flexible. I can choose what all lines of code I want to run from an entire file. So I've selected all these lines and only these lines will be executed now. So now if I click on this play button, You see, I'm getting an error, which is as expected. Why? Because it clearly tells me assignment to constant variable with a type error. It means JavaScript is not happy with me because I'm using const to declare a variable called birth here, and constant variables are not supposed to change. So JavaScript is yelling at me saying, Piyush, hey, what are you doing, man? This is a constant variable. Why you're trying to change it? It is not allowed. If you really want to change it, you better use let. That is what it means. So if you try to change the value of a const variable, then you will get an error. Okay. But if you do something like this, and now if I run this piece of code, let us see. So how do I clear this console? Because it is looking very much garbage, right? In that case, we have this particular button over here, which is going to clear my console. So if I simply click it, see, it is all clear. I can now even close it. And I've selected this piece of code again. Again, I'll click on this play button and I get this output, which is 2000. Now you might be wondering, how come I was getting the error previously, but this time I'm trying to add 1 to a constant variable only. How come I'm not getting the error? It's because you are just trying to add a new value, or basically number 1 to this birth year variable, but you are not changing the value of birth year. How you can change the value of birth year? If you assign it back to birth year. So this is something which is very important. So now if you do something like this, so you are adding 1 to birth year and saving it back into birth year. In that case, you are actually trying to modify this birth year. But in this case, you're simply adding 1, but you're not storing the updated value back into birth year. So this is a very, very important piece. Okay. So this is about constant variable. If you have any doubts, please ask me. Let me just see into the chat if somebody has mentioned something. Okay. There are some messages in chat. Screen is not visible properly, looks like small window. I'm not sure. Uh, are you not able to see my screen properly, guys? Anyone can please confirm me? So looks like okay. Yesterday I was using the same setup. I have not changed any setup, anything like that. So looks like it might be a temporary issue, but yeah, never mind. So let us continue again. Okay. So let us talk more about some constant variables. So I hope no, you must have started wondering. This is very easy stuff, right? But yes, I'm teaching in a very, very well structured manner. And that is why you're actually joining this course, because the purpose of this course is to teach you JavaScript, but not in a haphazard or jumbled manner, to make your learning very, very smooth, very, very structured. Okay, so let me give you some more examples wherein you can use const. First is birth year. Maybe you can store a global constant called pi. Another example could be, say, you can store days in week. And notice that I'm using three words which are joined together, right? And since I'm using three words, so it has to be lower camel casing. Okay, so how many days of week we have? It is 7. And is it supposed to change? Definitely not. It can never be 8, it can never be 6, it has to be 7 only. So the best way to declare this variable is use a constant variable. Okay, and then lastly we have something called as var variable, which is a very poor way of declaring, right? So I can just talk about something which is called as ES6 or ES 2015, because this is something that you should definitely be aware of. So in 2015 there was a very major upgradation that happened in JavaScript. Okay, so anything that is there in JavaScript before 2015 is called as modern, sorry, legacy or older JavaScript, and anything that is there in ES 2015 or later on, that is called as modern JavaScript. So this var keyword is there in JavaScript since a very, very long time. So, but that is not the reason why it should not be used. I'll talk about in my advanced sections why we should not use var. But for now, just understand that anything that is there in JavaScript since 2015 onwards is a part of modern JavaScript. And we'll be learning a lot of modern JavaScript syntax, which is going to make your programming experience so much smoother and enhanced. Okay, so this is slightly about the var keyword. Okay, so now let me give you a very simple exercise. Just try doing it. Okay, so let me have a variable called wind underscore speed. Okay, notice that I'm using underscore over here, and I'm giving it an initial value called 76. So how you can visualize it? You can close your eyes and imagine that there's a box, right? There's a square box, the name of this square box. So on this particular box you have written a label which is called as wind speed, and inside this box you have dumped a value called 76. This is how you can visualize a variable. Okay, now instead of using this value again and again, you would rather use this box now to refer to this value. which is very, very easy. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is, see, I'm doing something like this: wind underscore speed plus equal to 5. Okay, and then we have something. What I want to do is wind underscore speed minus, okay, minus with a semicolon this time. Okay, so can you guess, anyone, maybe what is the final value of wind speed if I just simply print out console.log of wind speed? What shall be the output? Maybe take 5 seconds and think. It is not very difficult actually.
80.
So, someone who can confirm? Anyone? Who said?
80. Gita.
Geeta. Okay. Yeah, that's a good try. So, what exactly we are doing? We are trying to add the number 5 and then we are storing it back in wind speed. So, for beginners, this might sound little confusing, this particular thing with plus equal to. So, we can simplify it simpler. So, let me simplify it. So, it actually means as what? Wind underscore speed equal to wind underscore speed plus 5. But if you see over here, this is slightly bigger in length, right? But this is comparatively short. So for beginners, they really understand this code really well. But for people who get little comfortable, they start using this kind of style. Okay. So firstly, I'm adding 5 to it. So my value of wind speed in this particular line is what? 81. And then what I'm trying to do is I'm subtracting 1 from it. Okay, so that is why if I now print the value of wind underscore speed, as Geetha rightly mentioned, I get the output as 80. And if you also notice that, it also shows me the previous output as well. So if you want to see, if you don't want to see the previous output, clear the console, and now if you run it, now you should see only the current output, which is 80. But there's a minor issue in this code. Anyone who would like to maybe unmute and tell me? Yeah, please, guys. It's okay to be wrong. Nobody's here to judge. We are all learners here. Anyone who can tell me what is a small minor issue? When I say minor issue, it is not a logical issue. I'm still able to run my program, but it's a very small issue. Anyone who can figure out? Not very difficult. Anyone? No? Don't worry. So the issue in this code is I'm using this underscore, which is a very common convention in Python language. And if you remember, I told you in JavaScript, we have something called as what? Lower camel casing. So I should only follow the lower camel case. So wind underscore speed is breaking this rule, which is lower camel case. So the correct variable name in this particular case should be wind speed, which is like this. First letter is always in lowercase and all the subsequent letters should be in uppercase, right? So this is like a more of a cosmetic issue. This is not a logical issue that is going to throw some errors in a program. Now, coming to this point, so I just talking about something like this. So when I say wind speed equal to wind underscore speed plus 5, if you see over here, I am using the same variable name 2 times. For me, this is slightly like a duplication. Nothing wrong with it, but I'm using the same variable name 2 times. So I can consider this like a duplication, and to really avoid it, JavaScript has this particular operator, which is plus equal to. And how do we read it? It simply means whatever is the current value of wind speed, add 5 to it and store the updated value back into wind speed. That is why in the second line till here, the wind speed is 81. And after, in this particular line, I'm decrementing this value. So I'm subtracting 1 from it and updating it back into wind speed. Okay, so this is what we have learned. And yeah, so as per a part of small recap, I have told you yesterday that spacings doesn't matter in JavaScript. What do I mean? If I go to Google, right, I should use optimal spacings like this. So 4 by 2, this is optimal space. And I also told you something yesterday that till 16 digits, JavaScript remembers the precision points, which means if I try to add more than 16 digits after the decimal point, then JavaScript will lose the precision point. So you have to be careful about it. But in rare cases, we really need this kind of precision. Okay, and then I even talked about something called as exponentiation operator. Okay, what is this exponentiation operator? Exponentiation. It is very hard to remember this name actually for me. Exponentiation operator. Yeah, so this is the exponentiation operator. How do I write it? Just use 2 star or 2 asterisk key. So what do I mean? If I want to do 5 star star 2, it means I'm doing 5 to the power 2. And there's a second way that I talked about, which is what? Math.power. So math is a utility object which can give me so many handy methods. One is power, we have something called as random, we have max, min. There's so many great methods. So that is why we can use this. And I can do the same thing using math.power like this. Okay. And then I even told you we can even clear the console. So we should use optimal spacing. This looks slightly jumbled actually. I think one space is better. This is what I meant. Okay. So, and then I was talking to you about something called as NaN. So when I say NaN, the first N and last N are capitalized. Okay. And this stands for not a number. And we get not a number when we try to divide 0 by 0. Right? Okay. But JavaScript is little interesting because if I try to divide 1 by 0, then the answer is not NaN, it is actually infinity. You can try this out. So please guys do practice whatever I'm telling you. If you'll just observe me writing the code, right, you will forget it because as per human psychology, we learn the max when not only when we see, we actually try to practice it because that is when our brain starts thinking. Okay, so please do practice. Okay, you can try to practice it right in within the class or you can practice maybe later on, but please make sure that you are practicing it. Okay, so this is about variables, and I've even talked about lower camel casing convention. I've talked about binary variables, I've talked about unary operators, and now I want to talk about something which is called as variable naming rules, which is extremely important. So what are the variable naming rules? So, firstly, variable names cannot start with a number. What do I mean? It means I cannot have a variable called 3 years. So this is illegal in JavaScript. See, it is throwing me an error. If I bring my mouse, it says an identifier keyword cannot immediately follow a numeric literal. So this is not allowed. Second thing, variable names can only contain what? It can only contain letters, it can contain numbers, it can contain underscores, or even dollar sign. But I've rarely used dollar. In fact, I never remember that I've ever used dollar inside my variable name. And underscores is something, even though it is allowed, but as I've told you, we should follow lower camel casing. So even though these two are allowed, I'll never use them. Okay. So majority of cases, you'll only go with letters or numbers. Okay. And then the third rule is what? You cannot use, you cannot use reserved JavaScript keywords. When I say reserved JavaScript keywords, it means I cannot use console as the name of my variable. I cannot use let or maybe const as my variable name. So these are keywords which are already defined in JavaScript. So I cannot use them as variable names. There are so many other keywords that I'll talk about in future. But for now, just understand that I cannot use reserved JavaScript keywords because I will get an error. Okay. So, and yeah, one more thing. Never ever use uppercase for variables because uppercase variables are actually used for global constants. Let me tell you. So previously I just showed you something like this. Okay, let me clear the console. Yes. So previously I showed you something called as pi. Ideally, this pi should not be stored like this. It should be actually created like this in capitals. Now you must be wondering, how come this first variable is using the lower camel casing, but the second variable is actually using upper camel casing? So this is the right way. Why? This is a global constant. For global constants, I use upper camel casing, but this is not a global constant. However, this is a constant that is not supposed to change, but this clearly tells programmer that this is a global constant, like pi. Okay, there are more global constants. I don't remember at the moment because I'm not very good with math, but yeah, I hope you got the point. So for normal constants, use lower camel case. For global constants like pi, use completely uppercase letters. Okay, and lastly, very important rule, which is what? Variable names are descriptive. Okay, what do I mean by descriptive? I can create a variable like this, let x equal to 10. Yeah, and this works perfectly fine, not an issue. But today you will remember why you have created this variable x for. But suppose 6 months down the line or maybe 1 year down the line, you look into your code, you yourself will not remember only why did I create this variable for. So rather than giving a very junk of garbage name like x, give it a meaningful name. For example, you can give value equal to 10, or maybe you can give whatever, but just give a more meaningful name so that everybody who is actually looking into your code, he should be able to understand the purpose behind your variable. Okay, so that's the whole point. Okay, so this is about JavaScript variables and values. So I think we are able to. Okay, yeah, this one more topic that is I'm about to share, and that is what in JavaScript we can even create a variable like this. Okay, let me just clear the console. So far I've told you there are three ways of creating a variable. One is let, one is const, and third one is var. Of course, var should not be used, but this we can even create a variable like this. For example, if I create my last name, so my full name is Piyush Gupta. So I can create a variable even without using let, const, and var like this. See, and JavaScript is not throwing any error. So what does this mean? I can create a variable like this, but it is a very terrible way of creating because by default it is actually taking like a var variable. So we should never use this because I've told you we should not use var. So always use let or const. Okay, so this is about JavaScript values and variables. So we did some little recap also for variables, right? And now I will talk about something about Playwright, what we covered yesterday also. So I showed you there's a very simple way of installing Playwright. So suppose if you are a manual tester, you have never done any automation before, right? So what did I show yesterday? It is very simple. Simply, okay, I can come to my downloads folder. I have created a folder called Playwright, and yesterday I created a brand new folder called Playwright July 2, and there was completely blank folder. Then what did I do? I opened this terminal from here, clicked on this terminal, and ran this command: npm init playwright at the rate latest. So I just need to run one command. Anyone can run this one command, right? So you just need to understand that this particular command will set up your entire Playwright framework structure, which is this one. So if you have created a folder called Playwright July 2, right? Anything you can create, give it any name. Okay. So and if you run this command, automatically you'll see these folder structures. You'll see a couple of these files. Don't worry about what is there in these folders, what is the meaning of these folders. Don't worry about all this. For now, I'm just trying to tell you that it is you can install Playwright with just one command. So after running this command, what we can do is we can simply check if Playwright is actually installed. So we can simply come to package.json and we can see, okay, so this is my Playwright version, which is 1.53.2. This is the major version, this is the minor version, and this is the patch version. So majority of times they don't release very major upgrades. So majority of times they give minor upgrades or some cosmetic updates. So you'll see 1.54 or 1.53.3 and so on. Okay, so we can also see Playwright installed right here. Okay, so all the dependencies that you install will store inside node modules and make it a point. Like today I was giving a corporate training, so I'm actually currently in Hyderabad giving a corporate training for a client. So one person, he actually created a folder inside the node modules folder, and then he was complaining that my Playwright scripts are not really running. So this is something I really want to tell you, that never ever create any file or folder inside node modules. So this folder is not supposed to be touched. Okay, this node modules folder. Okay, so if you basically make a mess with this particular folder, your Playwright might not work actually. Okay, now let me tell you how do I run my Playwright scripts. So all my Playwright scripts will by default store inside the test folder. Okay, ignore this JS, this is I've created only for JavaScript. And yeah, this is a sample script that is basically shared by Playwright folks. So now you must be wondering, what is this? This means example.spec.js. What do I mean? So every Playwright test case or basically test file will have this extension .spec.js or basically .test.js. So both of them are allowed. So when I say spec, it means it is a very common terminology in the automation industry, and it's not just with Playwright. Whether you are in Selenium or Cypress or Playwright, it is a very common terminology that we say, this is my spec file. Spec file means this is my file that is going to contain one or more test cases. That is a simple meaning of spec file. So if you look at this spec file, you don't have to worry about the code. I'll make you understand everything. So don't worry about the code, right? So this is one test case. Why? This test, this is starting parenthesis, this is ending parenthesis, right? So this is one test case, this is second test case. So what do I do? How do I run it? It is very simple. Simply run this command: npx playwright space test. So when you run this command npx playwright test, whatever test cases you have inside this test folder, it is going to run all the tests. It is very simple. And the interesting thing is you will not even see the test cases getting executed. Okay, see, nothing opened. You might be wondering, are they really run or what? See, they are all six passed. So what really happens is, now you must be wondering, these are two test cases. How come six are passing? It is because by default, firstly, they are small, very, very simple concepts what I'll teach you about Playwright. Even you are a manual tester, you should be able to understand. Why? Playwright is easy. This is what I want you to tell yourself every day. I still keep myself telling myself, Playwright is damn easy. JavaScript is very easy. And the more you repeat yourself, the better it becomes for you. So coming to this particular point, so as of now, we have two tests, but we are seeing six tests. It is because if you look at this file, don't worry about this file. I can just tell you that it is something called as playwright.config.js. It means it is a configuration file for Playwright. So if I simply close the terminal from here, and if I scroll down, you see something called as project section. Don't worry about these brackets. They might look very confusing because when I started with JavaScript, they looked very, very confusing. Just understand that we have defined three browsers. One is Chromium, second is Firefox, and third one is WebKit. So whatever number of browsers I've defined over here, by default, Playwright runs my tests on all the browsers that are defined here. So if I'm having two tests here inside the test folder, and if I'm having three browsers, so two tests will run on Chromium, two will run on Firefox, two will run on WebKit. And that is why I see the output as 6. So how do I open terminal? Control and backtick key. This is why I see 6 pass. And by default, Playwright tests run in headless mode. So some of you must be hearing this word headless for the very first time. What does it mean? It simply means that whenever I'm running my test, I will not be able to see the browser. So it is like an invisible execution. But if I'm running my test locally, maybe when I'm creating my test, I think I really want to see the browser so that I should see what is really going on. So personally, when I'm creating tests, in that case, I really don't want to basically run into an invisible mode. I really like to see the browser. In that case, what I can do is I can simply add a flag called as dash dash headed. It means I'm overriding the default playwright configuration, which is what? Run my test in the headed mode. Now, if you see, if I want to type this command again, it becomes very boring, right? I always like to optimize my stuff. So if I want to execute the same command, it is very boring to again type npx space playwright space test. What is the shortcut? Simply use the up arrow key. So up arrow key is going to basically retrieve the last run command. And if you press the up arrow key again, whatever the previous command that you have typed before this, that you can use. So this is a very handy shortcut. Yes, use the up arrow key and then use a space and then you use dash dash and head it. What does this mean? Let us see. Can you see now? Okay, so this time I actually saw the browsers, but since Playwright is so fast, it is absolutely very fast. I didn't even get the time to see the browsers, and they actually ran in just 5.5 seconds. Okay, and then for every Playwright test, it shows me a very nice report called as show report. Okay, so this is about Playwright. Now what I want to do is I would like to show you in something which is very interesting. So some of you might wonder, can I really start automation with Playwright? I've never done coding before. Now let me show you something. In less than 5 minutes I'm going to show you something how we can really automate a login page. And yeah, please try to do it with me. In case if you're not able to follow, don't worry, but you should be able to understand. So let me open my browser. And yeah, so this is my browser. I don't really like Google Chrome. Why? It is a memory hogger. It drains my memory like anything. So I don't really like Google Chrome. So I usually use this Arc browser, which is absolutely free. So there's a website called as Orange HRM. Some of you might have heard about this. So if I open this particular application, so I see this particular login page. So I'll show you in less than 5 minutes how can actually basically automate this login functionality. And trust me guys, it is very, very simple. So how do I automate this, right? Please try to do it with me. Okay, so what I need to do is I'll go to this example.spec.js. Okay, I'll close the terminal with control and backtick key. And what do I do? I can simply copy and paste this code. So I'll simply copy one test and I can paste it at the bottom. And yeah, so firstly, creating a duplicate test name is not allowed. So this is my test case name, get started link. So I cannot have a duplicate test name. So what do I need to do is maybe I can give it a better name like Orange HRM. Okay, so and yeah, don't worry about this async and await. This is very confusing for beginners. I also found it very confusing initially. So What do I need to do? I can simply remove all of them. Okay, so now what do I want to do is I want to basically visit this particular web page. Which is the web page? This is the web page. So I can simply copy this URL and in Playwright, for every Playwright command, just remember that I have to use this page. What is this page? Just understand that this is a browser. And if you want to interact with the Playwright browser, you have to use this page. That's it. And in order to visit any page, there's a method provided in Playwright which is called as what? Go to. So in this case, I have to just replace this URL with the one that I want to pass. That's it. And yeah, you must be wondering, do I really have to use these semicolons? I have not told you something, but yes, this semicolon is something which is completely optional in JavaScript. In Java, they are mandatory, and in JavaScript, they are completely optional. So again, whether you should use semicolons or not is totally your call. But I would like to say one thing: be consistent. If you're not using it, don't use it at all. But if you're using it, then use it everywhere. But it should not be inconsistent. Very, very important stuff. Somehow, okay, I'm okay with using this semicolons. So what do I want to do now? I'll do something called as this await page dot pause. Right. So what is this page dot pause? This pause method is something that basically pauses my Playwright script. That's it. It is simply going to pause my Playwright script. And then I can tell you how do I basically identify this username field and the password field and the login button from Playwright. It is very simple. Okay. So what do I want? Initially, as I've just told you, if I run this command npx playwright test, it is going to run all the test cases together, which is not what I want. So firstly, what I'm gonna do is I can comment out this Firefox and WebKit, which is not what I want. I can comment out these two. Now my scripts will only run on Chromium browser. This is one thing. Again, very simple. Second thing is let me close it. And yeah, one option is if I don't want to run any other tests, I can remove these tests, but that's a very immature way. A better way is what? Just use a helper attribute in Playwright, which is only. The meaning of this only is run only this particular test. Okay, so I use this only keyword only in the local execution. So if I'm only interested in running only a particular test case, then I should use only. But suppose if you are done with your automation work and if you want to submit your code to your lead or maybe to your manager for review, then you have to remove it. Then only you should send. Why? Otherwise, if you run this code in CI/CD pipelines, no other test case will run. So you have to be careful if you are using only, right? So I'm using it for now. And what do I do is if I now use the up arrow key, npx playwright test dash dash headed, it doesn't really matter because when I use page.pause, it is anyways going to show me the browser. Okay, so if I now run it, let's see. See, so Playwright has paused over here. Right now, I want to basically type something into the username field and I want to type something into the password field. What do I want to type? They have clearly mentioned in the username field, I want to type this admin. In the password field, I want to type this admin123. Now, even if you don't know how to write the CSS or XPath, some of you might have heard about these terms like CSS or XPath, and you must be a little afraid also. That is absolutely normal. Just bring your mouse on this button. We have something called as pick locator, which is a very great functionality of Playwright. What it supports is just click on it, and now if you bring your mouse, Playwright is going to recommend a very good locator. So if you see, Playwright is automatically recommending a locator, which is what get by row. Don't worry if it doesn't make sense. I can just tell you that how to read it. I'm looking for a text box that has a name of username. How do you know it is username? It is clearly written over here, username. Okay, so I can simply copy this line. I go back to the VS Code and I can write like this. Await, don't worry, but just understand that in Playwright, you have to use this await before every line. Why to use it? Don't worry, but just understand we have to use it. So I'll use paste dot get by role. And yeah, I want to type something into the text box. What do I want to type? I want to type admin. So for that, I have a method in Playwright called as fill. Okay, so see, if you must be wondering how come I'll remember all these methods. You don't have to remember them. It is a part of Playwright library. So Playwright is a very, very simple tool. If you have any questions or any doubts, you can go to the Playwright official documentation. Worse, if you know nothing about their documentation also, just open ChatGPT and ask. I want to type something into a text box using Playwright. Just give me basic step. I'm a beginner. So please give me very, very simple code. Right. So we have to use AI in today's times. Okay, Does it mean I'm getting dependent on AI? Definitely not. But I want to use AI to fasten, to basically to do things faster and better. Okay, so this is how I can add the username, right? And now what I want to do, I want to type the password. So for that, again, I can use this pick locator. And as I bring my mouse, see, it is showing me how to identify these elements. Don't worry if it doesn't make sense. Just click on this and it has copied the locator here. How do I read this? Very simple. I'm looking for a text box that has a name. What is the name? Password. Why? It is clearly mentioned over here. So this way is something which is damn easy. Even a beginner can actually start automating and Playwright in less than 5 minutes. So what do I do? Just write page dot get by role, right? And then again, I want to type the password, and we have just seen we have to use fill method to type something into the text box. So simply write fill. So what is my password here? So I'll come over to this Chromium and I can copy the password and I can paste over here. Okay, so I've entered the username, I've entered the password. What is the next thing? I want to click on this login button. Again, so this is, I'm telling for beginners, people who have great experience in Playwright. For them, they should be able to create their locators themselves. I'm talking to beginners for now. Okay, so simply click on this again and select this login, and we get this locator. How do I read this? So see, clearly it is shown that this username is a text box, right? This password is again a text box. But this login, is it a text box? No, it is a button. It looks like a button. So did you see? Playwright is clearly telling you that look for only a button that has this name login. Suppose if there was a login text actually, it is simply going to ignore it. It is only going to look for a button that has the name as login. So it is a very powerful way of or creating locators in Playwright. So this is something that is very, very useful. Okay, it is an advanced concept, but I think it is very, very simple. So I'm teaching you in the first class itself. So all I need to do is, since it is a button, do I need to use fill? No. On a button, what do? We click on it. So Playwright library is so English friendly. This fill clearly tells me I'm trying to fill something. Click clearly tells me it is more of an English line. I'm trying to click something. What is it I'm trying to click? I'm trying to click on a button that has this name. Is it difficult, guys? It's very, very simple actually. So what do I need to do now? Simply, I can now close my script. How do I close my script? Either I can click on continue button and my script is done. Now if I run it, let's see what happens. See, that is very fast. Then did you see? It has actually logged me in, right? And I told you in less than 5 minutes we should be able to automate the login page. And one last thing, what I really want to do is, maybe after I perform any action, I want to perform some verification. So majority of us are QA, right? So after every step we want to verify something. So in this case, I want to verify that my URL contains slash dashboard slash index. In that case, what I can do, again, I have to use a Playwright library. And how do I know? It will just come with experience and practice. Otherwise, I don't, cram these methods. Simply use await page dot wait for URL. What does it mean? It simply means after clicking on the login button, wait till the URL contains this particular string and use star star. What does this mean? The star star means it is more of a regular expression. Don't worry about this. Just understand that it means anything can come before the slash dashboard slash index. That's it. So this is what? This is like a verification or like a check that I'm doing after clicking on the login button. Why? I'm a QA. I want to check things. Okay. So that's it. Now if I run my piece of code, up arrow okay, hit enter. Now see. See, this verification is actually working. That is why Playwright reached here. Otherwise, if it was failing, Playwright would have never reached here. So now, if I simply click on the continue button, my script is passed. So did you see? It is so damn simple to automate something in Playwright, right? And I'll give you tons of examples. We'll show so many real use cases. We'll see some simple controls and we'll see some very advanced controls also, right? So that our learning is strengthened. But I hope some of you must be starting to wonder, this Playwright is simple, this is doable, right? And that is the confidence I really want to instill in you. Okay, so, and yeah, one last thing that I want to tell you is what, Playwright has a very big market, guys, nowadays. Since last, okay, so some of you who have not seen this, let me show you something very quickly. So we have a website called npmtrends.com. So I showed this yesterday also, and I'll show you today also. So there are three tools which are very popular these days. First is Cypress, second one is Selenium WebDriver, okay, and the third one is what, Playwright, of course. Let us compare them and see. So Cypress is blue color, Selenium is orange, and Playwright is green. Now, if you look at this, right, since last 1 year, or maybe if I look at 5 years, you see, Playwright was nothing in last 2 years, but since 23 and 24 onwards, can you see this particular graph? How Playwright is growing big time, and if you see the number of downloads of Playwright, which is how many? Unimaginable, almost 28 lakhs. If you compare it with Cypress or Selenium, there's no match on it. So people are going crazy over Playwright, not just because it is trending.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. Yes, JV, you're saying something?
Yeah, sorry for interruption. I'm saying please add karate as well with comparison.
Okay, karate as well. Sure. So if I search for this karate, which one you're talking about? The first one?
Yes, karate.
Oh, let's see. So this is a very good way of seeing. See, I'm not saying karate is bad or something, but this clearly tells me how many downloads it has. So karate has almost 15 downloads in August 2024. But if you compare it with Selenium and Cypress and Playwright, so this is how it compares. So this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. You have joined the right course. Playwright is going big time. And just trust me that your trainer knows what he's saying, because I have seen so many ups and downs in my IT careers, and to be very honest, I have seen so many layoffs also. I know how difficult it is when you don't have a job. I have been through these situations. There were times when I was working into a company for almost 5 years, gotten an award for the best performing employee, and the next day I got a mail from my HR saying that we let's have a cup of tea. I was like, there's no agenda, nothing. I got really scared. So I even asked and dropped the email, what is the agenda? No reply. So when I went and asked her, she said, Piyush, it's a very difficult conversation. So, rest is history. What I'm trying to tell you is that I have seen these difficult times as well. And I know some of you might be having these difficult times. But just trust me that these times will pass. Why? Because you are hardworking guys. You have joined this course for a reason. So if you stay focused, if you stay determined, and if you practice what I'm teaching you, you will become very good with Playwright and JavaScript. That is the confidence I have. Okay. So with this, I would like to end my topic for today. And tomorrow we'll start with some basics of JavaScript again, plus some basics about Playwright. Why? Because in the initial 3 4 days, right, we are giving people an opportunity to understand who is your trainer, how is the training style, are you basically comfortable with that training, so that you can take an informed decision. I know that I'm going to give you a lot of value, and that is the kind of feedback that I usually get from all my students. But some of you, I mean, majority of you may not know me in person, right? So this is a very good opportunity to evaluate. But if you have made your mind, I would highly recommend, please join the course immediately. Okay, don't just keep on delaying, because if you get into that paralysis of analysis, it is not going to help you. Because in IT, I know we keep on thinking and thinking and end up doing nothing. That is not the right thing to do. Just be a quick decision maker, just make a decision, and trust me, the 1600 bucks is nothing, right? Some of you were asking for a discount. Please, man, there's no discount in 1600. This is very, very cheap. This is peanuts. If you talk to me in private, I'm a very expensive trainer, right? Some of the folks who take one-on-one coaching from me, they know how much expensive I am. So the kind of training that I'm giving in this particular course is kind of peanuts actually, right? With the value that you're going to get. So I would again recommend, please do join the course immediately, and in the next 2 months or whatever time you're going to spend, it is going to be a great journey together, right? So with this, I would like to now shut up and give you an opportunity to speak if you have any doubts.
Hi Piyush. If
Indu,
possible, can you give me a 5 minutes?
yeah,
Maybe time.
your
So
voice is breaking, Indu.
I need a 5 minutes possible, or maybe after everyone.
Sorry, but your voice is breaking a lot. In that case, you can either drop me a WhatsApp, or you can post your query, whatever it is, on the chat box, and I'll be very happy to answer. Yeah. Anyone else have any questions? And yes, in fact, today I got a call from somebody. I'll not name him, but he was actually mentioning that, Piyush, you're teaching in a very funny style. So it is not about funny style. The point is, I really want to give you teaching, but not in a very boring style. I think learning should be with fun. So you'll see me laughing, you'll see me cheering up. You will not see your trainer in a very boring mood. Why? I don't want to feel bored myself when I'm teaching you. Why? It is not just about the money. I really like what I'm doing. And if you really are passionate about what you do, I think you can make a lot of money. Same thing. If you want to really grow a lot in IT industry, be passionate. Your energy, your walk, everything should talk about your personality. So thank you so much. That person, he's still there, and he's able to understand who I'm talking to. And thank you so much for the comment. I really loved it. Anyone has any questions? Geeta, yes, Geeta.
Yeah, will you be having a separate session to um, like how to install Node.js,
Oh
how
yes,
to
yes, absolutely. I will share everything. These are these initial 3 4 classes are what? These are basically more of a demo class, or you can say free sessions, just to give people a glimpse. That is why I'm actually covering both JavaScript and Playwright together. But in the actual sessions, I'll start from a very structured JavaScript because I'll make you master in JavaScript, and then we'll start with Playwright. So I'll be teaching from scratch how to install Node.js, how to install VS Code, and I'll even give you notes of structured way. Everything you'll get. So thank you so much for asking. Any other questions, guys? And yeah, no question is silly. So feel free to ask without being judged. Yes, Indu, you have something to say? Previously, there was some issue at your voice. Not sure if it is resolved.
Maybe I can call you via WhatsApp. Is that fine? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, sure. But only after the session. I'll not be able to pick up right now. Otherwise, these people will kill me otherwise.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I see Lakshmi. The one Lakshmi I know is from Isha Institute. Not sure if
Uh,
this is Lakshmi from Isha or what.
no, yeah, yesterday I was not here. Today only I joined. I have one quick question.
Yes,
What
Lakshmi.
is the approximate duration of the course once we enroll?
Okay, so Lakshmi, approximate duration of this course, what I was mentioning yesterday was it is around 40 to 45 hours. That is what we have decided so far. But that is not fixed, to be very honest. Why?
Okay.
Because I'm not the trainer who likes to see the clock, and I don't not the trainer who like to basically see like my time is up and now I don't have to cover and I don't care, man. This is not how I do. Whatever I have planned in the course, I will make sure it has to be completed, whether it takes 40 hours or whether it takes 47 hours. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you guys should be able to tell me he's a good trainer.
Yeah,
This is what I really want to hear from you.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Because in this today's time, again, I think I was mentioning this yesterday also. Today also, I'll mention to you guys, always think about giving more value. As a trainer, my job is to give you more value because I know if I'll give you more value, it is actually going to come 10 times back to me. Why? If I'll give you more value than what you're paying me for, you'll actually refer to me to your family and friends and all the other people. You will talk to your family and friends. Maybe you can recommend me for other corporate training jobs or something. Why? I'm giving you more value. So always think about giving value, not just as a trainer, but when you are suppose working into a company, because we have this minimum mindset majority of times. Suppose if they are paying me in the Indian currency, if they are paying me 10 lakhs, I'll do work worth 9.5 lakhs. That is how we follow the minimum mentality. But with this minimum mentality, we can never grow. If you really want to grow, have extra mile mentality. And you'll keep on hearing these fillers from me during the training. I'm not that other trainers like who'll only talk about JavaScript. I'll make you laugh. I'll talk about psychology also. I'll talk about some very great stuff. Any other questions, guys? By the way, I'm very good with fitness also. In case anybody wants to take any fitness tips, just joking. But yes, I'm very passionate about gymming and fitness freak too. You can connect with me on WhatsApp. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm there. And I'll try not to bore you guys. Any other question? I think Yassine Khan is there. I think he's the one who was unnamed yesterday. So Yassine, yes, I'll try to add some AI stuff because I know you are specifically joining for this AI thing only. So I remember it
Oh,
that you were saying.
yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I thought like today I can give a call and we can have discussion, but I was busy in the office and also I'm
Okay.
working like at the time, so
No,
I'll be
that's
like
totally fine. I
simultaneously go
understand
to.
that.
Yeah,
See,
fluctuating the
trying to
price.
give maximum value to all of you. So some of you might wonder that I mean teaching very, very basic stuff, but majority of people are actually joining who have no idea about coding. They have never done automation before. So I'm being very slow, but at the same time I'm trying to keep it very structured so that people should find it informative. People should really feel that JavaScript is not that difficult. It is doable. And the way he's teaching me, I think I can learn. That's the kind of confidence I want to transfer to all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, tomorrow is off, so hopefully I can do a call and we can have
Yes, yes, yeah. Tomorrow is an off, guys. Why? Because I usually feel that some people say that why can't we have 5 days of training? Some people say that 4 days is little less. I feel 4 days is too much actually, considering we all are IT professionals. We all are working into our full-time jobs, 9 to 6, and it is not at all easy, guys. Not at all easy to take out 5 hours every single day. Why? Even if you can take out 5 hours, but if you're not practicing it, I don't think you can really understand the course better. Why? Because I think it's better that you take out 4 hours and also take out maybe 1 or 2 hours extra on the weekend to just practice what I have taught so far. Why? Without practice, it is not going to help you. In that case, you better not to join the course. In that case, see, I'm being very open and honest because practice is there. It is a must. There's no substitute of practice. I can teach you, I can share my mindset with you, I can guide you and mentor you, but I can't practice on your behalf. This is something I really expect from you. But yeah, I will not judge you because I know life can come in the way. Sometimes we are busy in releases and all family stuff also. So yeah, that is understandable. But try to prioritize your work accordingly and so that you take out at least 15 or 20 minutes, if not 1 hour every day. Whatever is okay.
yeah. Nowadays the work make us like multitasking. One
Yeah,
side
and
constantly
and
doing, other
and see, I
side
tell
doing
people
it.
multitasking is something that is very poor actually. We are very poor multitaskers. We should ideally not do
Yes,
multitasking because we end up focusing on nothing, at least in the case of
but
men.
we are
I really feel that I'm
yes,
a very
but
bad
we are
multitasker. Sorry, guys. I'm just
yeah.
like to have fun actually. I don't feel like keeping a boring training. I really want to make you laugh so that you should feel that, we are having fun. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? If you don't have any questions,
Uh,
I would say just join the course. Don't take so long.
Hey, hi
Hi, Sachin.
Piyush,
Hi,
Sachin
Sachin.
this side.
Yes, Sachin.
I'm more interested about this framework, like
Mhm.
which all framework we are going to study, and it will be
Okay.
in the depth or like how it is.
Hmm. Okay. So, Sachin, before I answer you, can you please give me just a high-level background about you, your experience, so that I can get to know a little better?
Okay, I have 10 plus experience, manual
Okay.
testing plus
Oh,
performance, but
okay.
I'm new in automation. So
Okay. Okay.
I'm,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. See, Sachin, my goal is to make you, to be very open and honest, my goal is to make you all comfortable working with JavaScript and Playwright. I'm not using the word expert because it is not practically possible. Even I'm not an expert myself. I have worked on many automation tools, but I still don't think I'm a perfect person, right? I'm an expert. Why? Because technology is changing big time. Every other day technology is changing. AI is actually, changing so fast. Like last 1 year, people knew nothing about generative AI, but now since last 1 year, generative AI is like in a big boom, and we have to learn about AI or we'll fall short. So in your case, what I would recommend is don't worry about the frameworks. To be very honest, I would in your case I would highly recommend that focus on learning about Playwright, its basic fundamentals in JavaScript, because ultimately Playwright is very simple tool. Its library is very, very damn easy. The ultimate real challenge is actually in coding stuff. Of course, ChatGPT is nowadays a lot of people like to copy the code from ChatGPT, but that doesn't replace you. Why? ChatGPT can never replace the normal critical thinking of a human. So a human is of course required, right? So I really want you to write better code. So for that, of course, I'm going to cover a lot of advanced framework stuffs also. But my goal, because majority of people who are joining this course is more of who have never done on any automation. They have maybe have worked something on Selenium or they have never done anything automation. So my goal is to make all of you comfortable working with Selenium. Sorry, comfortable working with Playwright and JavaScript. I also teach Selenium, so sometimes instead of Playwright, you might hear this word Selenium also. So this is my goal: make you comfortable, very comfortable. In fact, right word is confident, confident. Any other question, guys? And if there's a question that you feel that you are not able to ask me here in public, you can ask me in private too. You can drop me a WhatsApp, you can maybe call me or something. So it looks like majority of people have asked their questions, right? So in case if you are still wondering to join, I would suggest just join. Don't think so much. So looks like we should end the session now, as if there are no questions at the moment. So it was great talking to you guys, right? So I'll share all these notes with you all, right? So I'll create a Google Drive folder, and I'll add all these notes for your reference, right? So these notes you can keep on referring them. You can just maybe take out 5 minutes or so. Just go through these notes once. You don't have to cram or something, right? Just go through these notes once, and that is enough. That is how I kept on practicing JavaScript and became so good at it. Okay. Yeah, somebody is saying nice session, Piyush. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much. It really gives me a lot of encouragement. Okay,
Yeah,
so
thank you.
let us end the session, guys. So tomorrow's weekend. So forget about JavaScript for now. Just enjoy weekend, chill, enjoy. Right, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.